Welcome to Southeastern 16. I'm your host, Chris Lee, joined by Jake Retzlaff. We are here to react to what is going to be an Ole Miss win over Tulane. As we start this video, there's about 10 minutes left in the game, but Ole Miss is leading 41-3 in complete control. Not that there won't be some issues coming out of this game, Jake Retzlaff. You've got a potential issue of shoulder issues to your top two players. We'll get into that. By the way, this video brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Think I mentioned that off the top, but if not, going to get that in there. Anyway, Jay, the first two playoff games were nothing like we expected. This one, other than any uncertainty about what it looked like under Pete Golding in his head coaching debut, was pretty much exactly what we expected.
There are macro and micro conversations about expectations about this version of the playoff game. And I'm happy to get into both. But I will say this. It was very clear that everybody in the building was focused on ignoring Lane Kiffin, while everyone inside the stadium was focused on hating on Lane Kiffin. And what I mean by that is coaches, players, staff, everybody collectively, let's go handle our business and be as emphatic as possible. And moreover, Pete Golding focusing on what he knows best, which for every great coordinator who gets promoted to a head coach, don't immediately try to be the CEO. Remember what got you promoted to being a great head coach. It saved Brent Venables his job. It allowed Texas A&M to make Chris Lee think Mike Elko's on the fringe of top 10 coaches in college football. So Pete Golding told his defense to go hunt, and they did.
Yeah, they did indeed. The offense is going to get the attention, but I think Tulane's last gasp, I think it was 24-3-ish. And John Summerall was a 4th and 1, 4th and 2, around midfield, a little bit shy, and Ole Miss just smothered it.
Oh, well, it was 3rd and 1, and they didn't get the brotherly shove, the tush push, whatever you want to call it, and they did it again, and they didn't get it again. Which leads me to my macro conversation. Beat feet, group of 5. You don't belong in this tournament. Period. Everybody who is banging the drum for Notre Dame, you lost to Miami, you lost to Texas A&M. Your beef should be with the system that allowed James Madison and Tulane both into this tournament. That is the beef.
And it's like last year where the seeding screwed stuff up, giving the top 4 seeds to the top 4 conference champions or whatever the rule was. It got Boise a 4 seed and really screwed some teams. The difference between the 6 and 7 seed, Ole Miss got to 6, A&M got to 7, was the difference between playing Miami, a team that could win it all, and Tulane, which might not be one of the top 50 teams in college football. And that's no fault of Ole Miss. And look, I'm not going to sit here and hate on group of 5 teams. The best well, no, hang on a minute. Hang on. They don't belong in the playoff. I get it. It's not their fault. They're doing the best they can. The system is set up to where they are a AA farm team for everybody else. I feel some sympathy for them, but in the era that this is in, let's move to a different system. Let's get this over. I'm not going to say that once every 10 years a James Madison or somebody could not belong in a 12 or 16 team playoff on its own merits. You never know. I think it's unlikely, but once in a blue moon, it could happen.
Neither one of those teams can win an SEC game, Chris.
Make them be in the rankings. Don't put them in.
Well,
just
the
because.
rankings get manipulated. Neither one of those teams would have won an SEC game.
Yeah, well, we can nitpick the how do you do it or whatever. I think we both agree on the point. It's terrible football. Again, I feel badly for Tulane. I think John Sumrall handled it with grace and class. I wish Tulane nothing but luck. They have done a fantastic job in this era of college football as being as competitive as they can. But holy smokes, I mean, you could have had Vanderbilt in this thing. You could have had Notre Dame in this thing. And the games are tons more interesting.
Without question. And that's the beef that nobody wants to talk about. And the inclusion factor of this is insulting really on every level, beyond the fact of it's going to push us to the greatest division that nobody really wants to talk about, and that's the Power 64 football programs breaking away and having minor league football. That's 3 lily pads from where we talk about in expanding to 16, expanding to 24. It's the 64 pulling off because they control their own TV contracts and them doing it themselves. And then they don't give a damn. Look, man, all of us love March Madness because we think we love Goliath, or we think we love David putting his hand inside the bag and pulling out a stone and slinging it and striking the Philistine on the head, and he fell to the ground. You don't have David if you don't have Goliath. So Tulane playing at Montana State right now
would have been a much better game.
Hell yes, it would have.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think your number's too big. I think 64 feels like too many teams. But anyway, I do think that your best of the group of 5 and your better FCS schools, to me, that feels like a better solution than this. I don't know where it's headed. I mean, that's another show for another time. I don't think most people are conflicted on this. I'm not saying there aren't some, but it's crazy. We'll get a better system eventually, but it's what we have now, and it's a shame because the first couple of football games we had were terrific football games. A lot of stuff could have happened, and both end up being games that went right down to the wire. This one was the laugher that we expected. I think, to me, Ole Miss, Jay, you knew from the first drive, Ole Miss took, 3 plays to score? I think Ole Miss's first 5 plays on offense were all 20 yards plus. Kewan Lacey started it with a big run. Ole Miss is only up, 14-3 at half. And you got some questions coming out for the second half because Chambliss and Lacey both had shoulder injuries. They both started the second half. And Ole Miss just put its foot down between the third quarter and the first play of the fourth quarter. And by that point, it was over.
Well, I mean, not to be over draconian here, it was over
when they went out of the tunnel.
A&M Miami kicked off.
Right.
So, look, Ole Miss fans in our chat can really wonder if they won or lost, because if Kewan Lacey's banged up, this was a meaningless game of go play your backups and beat them 17-9 and make certain everybody's as healthy going into the rematch against Georgia.
Yeah, I'm concerned about Lacey. He came out early in the fourth quarter, maybe late in the third. I think he was offered a shoulder brace at halftime, if I understood correctly what they said, turned it down, and came off the field grimacing. Chambliss stayed in. I don't know about that. I'm crazy about having my quarterback with a 30-point lead scramble and dive for a touchdown. I guess
that was Austin Simmons. That was Austin Simmons.
Oh, that was Simmons. Okay. I had left the room.
And but for those of us who bet a first-year Auburn student payment for my senior in high school on Ole Miss over 37.5. We were quite happy to see Austin Simmons sacrifice his body and future to get to 38.
Okay. So they took when did they take Chambliss out? I guess late third.
Yeah.
No, it says Chambliss had the 8-yard touchdown, 40-3. That's what I thought I saw. Anyway, Chambliss isn't going to be in anymore at this point. My question is, how severe are those shoulder injuries? Because that is what everybody is, I think, is going to be talking about coming out of this game.
And it's completely fair. And Ole Miss needed the pep rally. Ole Miss needed the home game to unify in the weeks-long wake that has been the post-Lane Kiffin moment. And I'm talking about that as the Ole Miss community. But this is a team that has lost one game, and they lost to Georgia in Athens when they had a fourth-quarter lead. And they now had to beat a team that probably doesn't have as many 5 stars as Baylor School here in Chattanooga, and may have had their 2 most important players hurt.
Yeah. Anything else you want to bring up on this game before we flip forward to Georgia? And again, we're doing this. There's actually still 6 minutes left, but it's 41-3. So here we are.
I think there's a telling sign, and if I'm a betting man looking at hedges and tendencies, I may be a little more willing to put some money on James Madison tonight, because it is clear coaches who are taking other jobs are not necessarily doing as good a job as they previously had done while they keep their current job. Look, I know John Summerall rolled a whole bunch of dice and threw out a whole bunch of trick plays. They got pushed around like nobody has pushed Tulane around all year. They got beat worse than they did in September. And I'm not even just talking about the score. I'm talking about physically. And this was their Super Bowl. You get one chance, kids, to pull off an upset you can talk about forever. I mean, I could give that coach a speech.
Did you see his quote that they flashed on TV about 10 minutes ago?
No, I did not.
I think he said, I've got 2 jobs, 2 phones, and 2 hours of sleep.
Well, you know what? That actually tells me that Keith Carter and Ole Miss did 100% the right thing to tell Lane Kiffin to beat feet. Because
was anybody debating that other than the CAA puppets?
Not to my knowledge, but there were a whole lot of people. It was a growing vernacular of folks trying to say it's his team, let him coach, yada, yada, yada. No, hell, I'll go you a step further. LSU should have told him Florida should have told John Summerall, leave. Get over here and start doing the job we're paying you 3 times as much money for.
I'm going to pause for a second. I'll ask you, take a look at FanDuel if you got a chance. I want to see if they've already set a line on Ole Miss, Georgia. I'm going to guess it's about a touchdown, but I'll have you look that up if you've got a minute and the means to do it. While Jay is doing that, a reminder, we are brought to you by our friends at Yearly Company. Christmas is days away. Those folks can help you out if you've got a wife, girlfriend, mother, whoever that you need to shop for. Yearly Company is a Nashville-based fine jewelry brand built on tradition, designed for meaning. Each piece handcrafted from solid 14-karat gold, natural gemstones made to measure for a perfect fit, backed by a lifetime guarantee. Every Yearly Company bangle is custom sized, so knowing your size is the most important first step before you order. That is where the sizing kit comes in. Code SC16KIT, KIT, gets you 100% off your sizing kit at checkout. Help out the folks who help the show. Do yourself a favor, order something from Yearly Company before Christmas, or hey, get a head start on Valentine's Day for what that's worth. All right. Also brought to you by ROKFORM, which is the world's strongest magnetic phone case. Extreme protection, super strong magnets, rock lock secure mounting, SEC 2.5 gets you 25% off your first order. And hey, I think all your orders actually. And guess what? That is a lifesaver. Get the magnetic phone case and get the vent clip for your car. Thank me for that later. It's a great system, works very well for me. Jay, do we have a line?
We do not have a line. FanDuel has only set lines for quarterfinals that are set.
Okay.
So in that regard, you have Indiana minus 7.5 and Ohio State minus 10.5. But there are no other lines set. The hypothetical games, they don't even have the only hypothetical game they have is Oregon, Texas Tech. So I don't know why they don't have Ole Miss, Georgia put in place, but I'm just telling you what I'm reporting from FanDuel.
What are you guessing? I'm thinking around 7.
I think it'll be north of 7 because of the uncertainty, because of the way Georgia finished. Not only that game in the fourth quarter, but the season. Yeah. And look, the emotion of we are better than Lane Kiffin that Ole Miss played with today did not answer the question of are they better without Lane Kiffin? Yeah. Because they were going to beat Tulane regardless. I could have coached Ole Miss, and that team was going to beat Tulane.
Yeah, by the way, shout out to the Ole Miss crowd. I think they said the largest crowd in Vaught-Hemingway history. The color thing on the alternating the red and the blue was pretty cool. Those folks came ready, as you said.
Yeah, and 100% liquor and 100% loud.
Yeah, I think analytical models would have this closer to 3, maybe 3.5 for Georgia. But I think that Georgia's one of those teams that always gets a couple points. And I think you throw in the coaching end of it and the fact that Georgia's looked so impressive. Plus, the first time around, what was the margin victory? Was it 7?
No, it was 12.
12? Okay. I think I'm guessing. Yeah, I'm thinking within a point or two of that. What did you say?
I said north of a touchdown.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll find out soon enough. That was the first time around. Of course, that is Ole Miss's only loss. And that's one of 2 games that Ole Miss got outgained, the other one being Arkansas. That was a game where Georgia, if I remember correctly, took control pretty early in the second half. And I think it was kind of a 10-point game in the fourth quarter a lot of the way where Georgia was kind of firmly in control there. The Bulldogs are playing exceptionally well. They're peaking at the right time. But I also don't count Ole Miss out.
Well, I don't count anybody else out now that we're all getting into the big boys. I mean, we walked into this thing talking about narrow point spreads and bona fide lines of scrimmage matchups that could decide a playoff team's fate. But nobody talked about any of that with the only conversation about James Madison and Tulane was, could they find a way to cover 17.5 and 21.5 respectively? So, no, I'm not counting Ole Miss out. But if you think Ole Miss is going to be a field goal underdog, I'll bet a mortgage payment on Georgia -3 right now.
I think the good thing for Ole Miss, well, two things. Remember last year, the whole issue that the teams that didn't play until the quarters, it didn't go so well a lot of the time. There's that. And the Ole Miss, the injury thing was the one thing that you wanted to avoid. And of course, your best two players leave the game with questions, Lacey and Chambliss, with the parent shoulder injuries. On the other hand, Jay, you get 10 days off. So if those aren't bad, that's kind of a nice happy medium there. You played a game more recently than Georgia did, and hopefully that's a big enough window of time to maybe that extra 3 days, if the health is a significant issue, comes in handy.
Well, yes and no in playing a game more recently in time, because Georgia played last Saturday, or they played the SEC championship game. So they've also had that 13th game and now can adjust their schedule and adjust their rest accordingly. And look, if you think Georgia was prepping for anybody but Ole Miss through this extended practice time, then you're higher on crack than Chris Rock's character in New Jack City. I mean, this is an ideal scenario. Who do you think Pete Golding learned the most from? Kirby Smart or Nick Saban? Because he was down the hierarchy.
Probably Saban, just because he's
Maybe.
done it longer, and also
Maybe.
because like anything you learned from Kirby also came from Saban, maybe, given their association.
I'm not going to refute your answer, but I am going to say everything Pete Golding learned, Kirby also learned. And Kirby's now put it longer into practice.
That's a good point. And Ole Miss, it will be interesting to see. Like you said, I don't think they had to show all their cards today. What might Pete Golding do differently than Lane Kiffin? I guess we'll find out in 10 days. Josh Carter, thank you for being here. One of our favorites at the channel, says, I've seen enough. Go back to the 14 playoff. This 12 team isn't it. Zero buzz and awful games. You agree with him?
I do. I 100% agree with him.
See, I don't. We had two great games last night.
Huh?
But two great games last night.
Well, you know what? I think back to all the great bowl games we've had. Because you're talking about great games in terms of TV value. Think about all the great holiday bowls we've had. Think about all the great random Aloha bowls we've had on Christmas Eve. Think about, if we're just talking about it being a TV product, that's fine. I want somebody to tell me what the goal is of continuing to expand, because finding the best champion is not it. Finding the most qualified teams is not it, because James Madison has no business in this bracket. And I know I'm going to say that and they're going to upset Oregon. But I just watched Tulane get skull beat.
You okay?
I'm close.
Gotcha. Well, Josh says expanding this thing to 16 or 24 for more money is going to kill the sport I used to love. It's just different now, not to get away. See, I think this is a way that you get back some of the bowl game matchups that you lose in a 14 playoff. You get an Oklahoma and an Alabama in a game that means something. Whereas if you go 4 teams, you just don't get that.
Okay, you
And
get
that was, I mean, look, we have seen
mean something, but we're going to get to the place where technically the Big Ten title game didn't mean anything. So we're going to say post regular season games are now going to mean more, but we're robbing from the meaning of regular season or conference championship games, because Indiana and Ohio State went in 1-2 and they left 1-2. So they could have walked to the middle of the field and played rock, paper, scissors.
Look, I'm not saying there's some things I wouldn't change about the system, but I think 12 teams,
well, then,
if you kick out the G5 auto bids or whatever you call this that we did here, that the conference champion things, again, you put Notre Dame, and who was the last team out besides Notre Dame? Was it BYU? I mean, I think they're compelling games. I just don't think
BYU beats Toledo or Tulane 42-10.
Right. I mean, BYU might go to Oxford and have this a game into the fourth quarter. I don't know. I think Ole Miss wins anyway. Maybe wins by double digits, but it's better than this. Now, Vanderbilt Ole Miss, I would have loved to have seen that. That would have been a war between Diego Pavia and Trinidad Chambliss. Sign me up for that.
It is. I am not 100%. Look, I don't think the SEC is as dominant as it was 3 years ago. I don't. But to think these teams with mid-level talent that have maybe 3 guys who would start at Auburn should be in the playoff.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's debating that, though.
Well,
I don't.
But that's the system we have.
Well,
so we have
sure.
To rally around fixing at least that.
Yeah, I think you do something with maybe you take the top 3 conference champions, and you, I don't know. Maybe that's. I just don't think you set yourself up for this again. But they won't. There's too much money
before James Madison.
Well, the best thing that could happen is for Oregon to be up 35-0 in the first quarter tonight, and the ratings just be awful, and that's what gets you a change, because money.
Ratings are going to be awful if Oregon. Look, it dawned on me. I was puzzled why Texas A&M and Miami were playing the nooner. It's because the NFL is on broadcast TV tonight. And it's an unfair feather to put in your argument's cap, even if it's my argument's cap, to say broadcast numbers, which everybody looks at. Nobody's going to watch Oregon James Madison tonight, period. Green Bay, Chicago play on the NFL tonight. On broadcast television. It'll get 40 million viewers.
If you go to 16 and you just see them the way the committee did, here's your matchups. Southern Cal at Indiana, Utah at Ohio State, Vanderbilt at Georgia, Texas at Texas Tech, BYU at Oregon, Notre Dame at Texas A&M, missed somebody here.
You missed
Texas, Texas Tech, Notre Dame, and Oregon. I'm sorry. Alabama and Oklahoma would still play. Miami would go to A&M, and Notre Dame would have gone to Ole Miss.
Well,
tell me what of that you don't
Vandy?
want to see.
Vandy
goes to Georgia. If you take it a 16-team event, you seed it in the order that the committee did, you throw out the conference championship tie-ins, that is a fantastic tournament.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think even the 116 Southern Cal, Indiana, there's a world where that's a game.
Yeah, it's our world. I think
it's not our world this year.
Overrated.
Well, that would be a good way to find out. But that's where we are. I think eventually, I mean, I keep saying this. I keep thinking, well, like, we're going to wake up one year and everybody's going to go, hey, this whole thing's stupid. The timelines don't work. Having guys coach two teams at once doesn't work. Having guys 1 foot in the portal while they're playing a playoff game doesn't work. The whole system is run by college presidents who often do not live in the real world. It's where we are. Sooner or later, the economics will work this out. Given who's running it, maybe it's a decade. I don't know. But I just think that would be so much fun.
Josh's point is so right on. The magical moment that we all remember from New Year's Day at the Fiesta Bowl when Boise State beat Oklahoma on the Statue of Liberty play and the running back proposed to the cheerleader girlfriend, and we all thought, oh my God, this is the NC State moment. Look, this is not basketball.
Yeah.
This is not a basketball team who finds one dude who's an NBA player and they can win 4 games. No, this is not that. This is not that. This is a different animal collectively. These are all Goliaths, and Davids need not apply.
By the way, one more thing, and we'll finish it up and end on this. My brother sent me this. He's got a buddy who's a Montana fan, I guess it is. Montana and Montana State played, I guess, today, or playing. I don't know. I don't keep up with the FCS playoff. Tickets, $450 for that one. Again, fantastic tournament. People love it. Let's put Tulane and JMU in that thing.
Outlier.
And then everybody wins.
Though, because that's like whatever your high school rivalry is.
Oh, I get it. I get
times
it.
10, complete outlier.
But the point is, there's a group of people who care. There's a group of people who care about competitive football outside your powerhouse teams. These teams would survive. It would be fun. You're not Tulane going to Ole Miss to be like a lamb led to the slaughterhouse, and you get better product. That's where we should be. Hopefully, that's where we get.
Question for you, Chris. If you're a Florida fan, are you more or less enthused about John Summerall after tonight?
I don't think it moved the needle either way.
Okay.
They were overmatched. We saw it the first time. It was 45-10. What was the final tonight?
41-3 last 41. Time I turned the TV
Well, Tulane got a late touchdown. It's the same game the second time around. It didn't change anything about John Summerall being a good coach or not. You said it yourself a minute ago. There's 3 guys on Tulane that could start for whichever Power 4 school it was you picked.
Yep.
End of discussion. That's no reflection on John Summerall. He's in a tough spot. He was trying to do the right thing by his former employer. He's trying to do the right thing by his next employer. You were overmatched. There was nothing you were going to do about it. It is what it is. Changes nothing for me. Is it for you?
No. And in truth, the late touchdown doesn't matter, but the late touchdown matters because it's close to the same narrative that Lane won with.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that game might have been more competitive than this one. I don't remember the sequence of scores, but it doesn't matter. I mean, what are we talking about? Again, game should have never happened, but that's where we are.
Well, it doesn't matter, but it does matter because
well, and
things
what,
that don't matter do matter.
It matters to Ole Miss. I'm not going to sit here and just hammer on Tulane. Ole Miss didn't ask to be in that spot. It was. Ole Miss got a playoff game. Its fans were excited. They showed up. The color thing they did in the stands was cool. They made it clear they're there to support. Ole Miss handled it great. They handled their business. And you know what? They deserve, I don't care if it's Tulane or Tulsa. They deserve their flowers for this one. They got a historic first playoff game. They got to win. And next week, you get Georgia.
All right. Hey, we got Josh, this is a great question. It's a great question.
Well, I mean, I'm going to take Billy Napier because Urban Meyer peak Urban Meyer was what, a top 5 college football coach of all time.
What?
Top 10.
Well, peak Urban Meyer after he got to Florida.
Right. But I mean, when here's the point.
When he was coming from Utah, he wasn't top 5 college football coach all time. I mean,
no, that's not what I said. No, he was dang good at Utah. He was dang good everywhere he was. My point is, here's where I'm going with this because it was framed by a question. When you ask me, is anybody going to be more like Urban Meyer, where when he had it rolling at Florida, they were unbeatable, or Billy Napier? I'm going to take the other one because you guys that have done what Urban Meyer did in that 3 or 4 year run or whatever it was when he was at his best, again, you can count them on 1 or 2 hands.
All right. That's viewing it through a reactive prism because the question is asked coming from a group of 5 higher. I mean,
which Urban Meyer was at one time too, by the way.
Yes,
started at
Bowling Green, Utah, and they had gone 11-0, and they wanted to be in the playoff. They would have gotten their asses kicked, but I agree with you in your premise. I think Urban Meyer is a great football coach. But I damn sure if I'm going to have somebody watch my kids, it's going to be Billy Napier, John Summerall, way above Urban Meyer.
Well, yeah. But, I mean, Urban Meyer, I looked it up, career record of 187 and 32. So I say peak Urban Meyer, any Urban Meyer. No, I mean, John Summerall is going to end up with a career record, I think, closer to Billy Napier than he is Urban Meyer. Because just about anybody would. So, which does not make him a bad coach. It's just, you got 2 choices in the question and you had to take one. Jay, any parting thoughts?
I am stoked for next week's football, and I actually wish they could find a way to move the bowl games to the front of the year, and those be the Labor Day games. So these games could be on campus.
Yep. These
semifinal games being on campus would rock.
That would be a ton of fun. Maybe 1 year we get there. Not this year, probably not next year, but I'm rooting for it. Yeah. That's all. We will not recap James Madison and Oregon. Now, look, if JMU pulls the shocker, then maybe we got a video we didn't plan on doing. But I'm off to help with Christmas stuff. Jay, have a great rest of your weekend. Same to our audience. God bless you guys. Thank you for watching. We will be back Monday on the football side at least. Don't know what Max and Blake have got playing for basketball. I know there's some other games going on. But on the football side, we'll be back Monday morning, and we will have previews of all the quarterfinal games. So be sure to be here for that. Hit the like button if you don't mind. We appreciate that. It helps our channel. Don't forget to join the membership tiers. Those start at $3.99 a month. Those in your super chats help our channel. Everybody have a great rest of your weekend. God bless you. Have a great night. For Jay Greason, I'm Chris Lee. Thank you for watching Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel.